So I was asked this question in a group that I'm in, and I thought, what better way to answer than with a YouTube video? So here I am. My name is Matthew. I run an email and SMS agency, and today we're looking at why is it that sometimes cart metrics disappears, and this also extends to pop-ups and a lot of other metrics. So let's begin. So why is this important? We know that Klaviyo natively notifies us when traffic drops below a certain point. However, if you're dealing with a brand doing excess of 300K a month, those days really count, and we really don't want to be leaving revenue on the table. So that is the real push as to why it's so important. And in this video, we'll be going over SOPs that you can take and follow to make sure that it doesn't happen. So the first step is to look at the Klaviyo app embed. And if I'm being completely honest, this should solve it for about 90% of you. So go to integration, Shopify, and make sure that this is all ticked off. So that's step one. Moving on to step two, it is to use some inspect element. So what we like to do is go on the site, play with some buttons, look at this collection, look at that collection, look at the abandoned cart. You want to trigger a bunch. Then you want to do inspect element, look at networks, and make sure that Klaviyo.js is being sent across. What this allows us to do is isolate where it is that any of those errors are occurring. Where is it that the information or the data is not being sent? The next step is to go undercover. So you go in the brand, you put in your own email, and you repeat the process of triggering a bunch of steps. And this way, what you're able to do is in Klaviyo, check to see what is being sent and what isn't being sent. The next step is to look at the payload. So look at metrics and the one you're trying to test. Oftentimes we find that, especially for very, very new stores, this might be the reason behind it not showing up. So you need at least one instance of that metric for it to show up in Klaviyo. So by adding yourself and then going through all the metrics, you can see where that drop-off point is. And then another step that's really, really important is when you're looking at the payload is to make a note of all the metric names. So metric name, metric price, the URLs of these different things, because this is what's going into the dynamic segment. So really make a note of it, because I know that there are some variants from platform to platform as to what the name is. And what you would hate is to send the flow and there's errors and you're potentially losing a bunch of income on that back end. So that's that. The next one, really, really important, oftentimes overlooked, is to validate the flow triggers. So you go into the flows, you go into the previews and see, well, knowing what I know, are all of these previews and all these filters acting accordingly? Is there anyone that's being missed? Is there anyone being kicked out? Is there anyone that's not in this flow that should be in this flow? Or all things to consider. Common pitfalls that I've interacted with would be when the brand is updating their themes on their website. As Klaviyo embed sits within the themes, if it's updated, it can cause some problems. So if you know your brand is going through a refresh, please ensure that the embeds are active. Other things are password protection and consent barriers. And this is the final recap, which is as follows. You verify the integration, you confirm active on site, you inspect the payload, and finally you validate the flow triggers. And that's it. Hopefully you got a lot of value from this video. If so, please like and subscribe and leave any comments or questions you want me to cover next. And I'll see you in the next one. All the best. Take care. Bye-bye.